don't blame him for finally clapping back. James Harden's been the most disrespected all-time great of his era. He is the most disrespected player night in, night out by guys on TNT, by guys on this network, by guys on other networks. Every day. The guy averaged 36 last year, averaged 35 this year, has won an assist title, and he's called a ball hog. He's done it with great players around him, without great players around him, but because he's never won a championship, people always take shots at him. So I don't blame him for clapping back. But his take is terrible. It's just an erroneous, awful take. We have had dozens, more than 100 7-footers play in the NBA over the last 30 years, more than 250 if you go back for the history of the league. None of them have been able to do what Giannis can do. Giannis does not have an absurdly high vertical leap, about league average. Giannis is not one of the fastest players in the league, slightly above league average. Giannis is strong, but he's not even close to the strongest player in the league. He has improved every single year. He has gone from a guy who his rookie season looked like he was totally out of sorts to a league MVP, to a guy who's about to win another league MVP by enhancing his skill, by working on his skill, and by proving how wildly skilled he is. People said, Vinny, this weekend, oh, Giannis responded to Harden's comments by dropping 41, 20, and 6. The big difference in that game was it was actually close, so he had to play a lot of minutes. He played 36 minutes. On the year, he's averaging 35, 16, and 7 per 36 minutes. He's just usually has his work done in 30 minutes. So it wasn't even that big of a game for him. So Giannis is an exceptional player, arguably the best player in the league. I understand why Harden's sick of people taking shots at him, but saying Giannis has no skill and just runs up and down the court is an absurdity to me.
Well, can we give a round of applause for two players actually admitting their truths and this not being buddy ball anymore? Like, that's the part that I appreciate.
You like this.
I love this.
Yeah.
We will never see these two in the finals against each other because Houston will never get there.
Oh,
but on a level,
here's
the thing, James Harden is not criticized because of what he's not. He's criticized because of how he came up short in critical closeout games through his history in Oklahoma City and in Houston, plus the style in which he plays, which lends itself to a guy producing the way that he produces. So I agree with you basically on the premise of what you're saying, but people don't criticize him just to criticize him. When you're a historic player, and James Harden is a historic player, he's come up short many more times than anybody this side of Karl Malone, okay? And when you're talking about Giannis, I will say this. There is no player, I think, in the history of this league, at least in modern history, that has made so many jumps in a short period of time. He went from a player who was a lottery pick but couldn't play. He turned into a rotation player. He turned into a starter. He turned into a point guard when Jason Kidd was his coach. And then he turned into an MVP.
He's answered every question along the way.
And now he should be the unanimous MVP. Like, you can make an argument that there should be nobody else that gets first place votes this season. You can absolutely, if his team is going to win 70 games and he's the best defensive player in basketball and he's producing 30, 14, and 6 on a team with no other star,
you don't think
could
LeBron
be
gets one vote?
I said he should. I said he could be. He should be. Like,
if you had a vote, you think he
has a vote?
I have a vote. Yes, I have a vote.
Nick's been trying to buy that vote for 2 years now.
Yeah. I think
he sold the vote.
I think he's going to come. I think he'll come close to being unanimous MVP, and it'll be perfect. And I know we're going to talk about LeBron later. LeBron, once upon a time, against a 70-win team with the unanimous MVP, beat him in the finals. Now he'll get to do that part two. But can I say one thing real quick, Wilds? The idea that I heard what Vinny said, and this is one of the narratives. Oh, it's nice that guys are now, but not everyone's all buddy-buddy. This revisionist history of what the NBA once was, I'm so sick of it. You're from Detroit, right?
Absolutely.
Isaiah and Magic literally kissed before games, right?
And then they elbowed each other in the face during the same game.
Because guys were dirtier, that's different. They did kiss, though, right? And Chuck and MJ gambled and golfed together and then battled in the finals. This idea that we're in a new era of guys being friendly, the older players say it because it glorifies their history. The NBA guys have always been friendly with NBA guys with rare exceptions. But these are two guys. Harden thinks he should have last year's MVP. He thinks Giannis should have 0 and that he should have 3 or 4. And he's staring at a world where Giannis is about to have 2 and he has 1, and it bothers him. It's just a bad take. It's saying Shaq wasn't skilled. Shaq was wildly skilled, particularly Orlando and early LA Shaq. People just see the physical domination and think that's the whole story. Listen, Giannis got caught up in the moment joking with Shaq and those guys. Shaq started it saying he doesn't want Harden, he wants a guy who will pass, and Giannis went along with it. In the All-Star draft, I think the more noteworthy thing is that James Harden finally said enough's enough. Like, I think whomever said something about him, Harden would have found a way to shoot an arrow. To me, it's silly that he shot an arrow at Giannis, who's not only one of the most likable players in the league, but his commentary is absurd.
Here's the thing, you can't say that. And I talked to Giannis before the start of the season, asking him about the whole MVP controversy. And he said, look, I'll never say that I'm a better player than James Harden. He can say that, his people can say that, I won't say that. He's always taken the high road, but Giannis is one of those guys who is honest. He'll answer whatever the question is. And I don't think he took any unfair shots at James Harden. It was a lighthearted atmosphere, but James Harden is a guy who, you said, feels disrespected by his peers who feel like, hey, if I controlled these possessions, if I played in this system, I would produce the same way this guy has.
Yeah, and they're all wrong, by the way. All those guys are wrong, but the disrespect is still there.
So is this something or nothing? Is this going to turn into something?
Only if they meet in the finals.
That's it. And they only play twice this year because they're not going to meet in the finals.
I'm saying it's a strong nothing.
Well,
strong nothing.
Okay.
Strong nothing.
Okay, for the idea that just because Vinny has a blood feud with the Rockets and the whole
Of course I do. Of course I do.
That they're drawing dead for the finals. Right now, they're in my mind the second most likely team to make the finals out of the West. In everyone's mind, the third best at worst. They have been on fire.
But you don't see them in the finals, Nick.
You
want them in the finals?
We don't see. Hold on. Say it again.
Do you see the Rockets in the finals?
No, I think the Lakers are going to make the finals.
Okay, then what are we talking about? Third?
Because the idea that
It's not happening.
Do you think Milwaukee's going to make the finals?
Yes.
Okay, so half the equation's there. The idea that we couldn't, that this is like
you can't envision
that this is a feud between Harden and Trae Young, where we know they're not going to meet in the finals, is foolishness. The Rockets are we absolutely have a chance to see this in the NBA Finals. I don't think it's the most likely outcome, but Vinny to just dismiss it and say the Rockets are never going to make the finals.
What's your chance?
18%. Oh. What? You asked.
18%.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.